So my name's Claire. I am a reverse dieting metabolism coach for women, but I specialize specifically in more so like the food freedom aspect. I work with a lot of women who have struggled with disordered eating in years past, or orthorexia, over-exercising, fear of a lot of different kinds of foods. And I struggled with it for years myself as well. So that's kind of what got me into this. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I love it. And we got to talking in a line at the Real Coaches Summit waiting for some food. And you told me a bit of your story. And if you will lead us off, if you would bless us with that, I think a lot of people will resonate with it.
Yeah, totally. So I was a ballet dancer my whole life. I think I started at like the age of 5 or 6, and I didn't stop until high school, until I graduated high school, which is such a beautiful art form, such a great form of exercise as well. But you're constantly looking at your body in a mirror. You're constantly in like tight clothing. You're always being evaluated. You're comparing your body to other women around you. And you're being told, smaller is better. The more petite you are, the more successful you'll be. The easier it is for guys to lift you, right? All these things. So going into college, I just wanted to maintain that smaller body. And I wasn't dancing anymore. And I didn't know anything about really nutrition at all, because with how active I was with dance, I kind of just ate whatever. I was fine. And, when you're in high school, it's like you can really eat anything. And for the most part, you
Mhm.
just can handle it. So I didn't know anything about nutrition. I didn't know anything about working out. I just started going to the gym and I started eating healthy. And I brought a scale with me to my dorm because I was so scared of avoiding or of gaining like the freshman 15 that everyone talks about. I did not want that to happen. I was like, that will not happen to me. If that happens to me, I've failed. So I so I brought that scale with me to college, and it quickly spiraled into just like this obsession with like weighing myself every morning, after lunch, after dinner, in the evenings, like all the time. And me not knowing anything about nutrition, I started to do the math. I was like, oh, the less I eat, the less the scale will go up. The more I exercise, the more toned I'll get. And within like the first semester of college, I think I had dropped about like 30 pounds. So it was very drastic, very quickly. I developed crippling anxiety around food. I did not want to go to the cafeteria with friends, or really just with anyone. I didn't want people to see me eating. I didn't want to eat. I lost my cycle as a result of it for about most of college, like 3.5 years. And I didn't see an issue with that. I was like, well, I am getting fit. I'm getting healthy. Like everyone knew me as like the fit girl now. And I had been told my whole life, like in the ballet world, like the skinnier you are, the better. Um, and when I would come home for break, people were like, wow, you look so good. What have you been doing? It was just constantly like I was being egged on and supported.
That constant reinforcement, right? Like the reinforcement when they don't know what you're doing to get there.
Exactly. Exactly. People are like, what's your trick? What have you been doing? And I'm like, not eating. um, so yeah. So that's kind of how it started. And obviously from there, it continued to get worse and worse. I didn't know really anything better. I remember I got into like the intermittent fasting trend, and it really wasn't even fasting like in an hourly window. It was like I would just go for as long as I could throughout the day until I finally was starving and had to eat. So some days I would wait until like 3 or 4 p.m. to eat. And I would get my workout done during that time, and try to burn up to 1,000 calories at the gym. It just was crazy. And so I think it was my junior year of college that I finally realized that I'd gotten to a point where I just needed help. I was like, I don't want to feel like this forever. I felt, super almost like a slave to like food and exercise, and I didn't know how to just feel balanced and happy, because even when you do reach that like lean tiny body, you're still not happy with yourself. You're still not confident. So that's when I hired my first coach, and she immediately started me with like took me through a reverse diet, which was terrifying because I had always been told the more you eat, the more food, like the more weight you're going to gain. Um, but I wanted to feel healthy and I wanted my cycle back. And so that's kind of where it started. And that's really where I became interested in it. I was already kind of majoring in education, but that's when I switched over to like nutrition and kinesiology, because I wanted to learn more about it for myself. And yeah, and that took I did my first reverse diet, and it took me about a year to gain healthy weight back. A lot of it was muscle because I was still working out, but I felt so empowered and so free and just like a totally new version of myself, because I went from eating like probably 1,200, maybe less than that, maybe 1,000 calories a day, to double that over a year's time, up to about 2,300, 2,400 was my maintenance. And it wasn't even really like the physical results that came from it. Like, it was the mindset behind it too. I was way more confident in a much like more muscular toned, heavier body on the scale. I probably gained about 10 pounds, 10 to 15 pounds, just in that first reverse. And that, like, realizing how confident I felt in that heavier body, which I always told myself would be uglier, was just a game changer for me. The mindset behind it all seriously, like, just changed my life. And that's when I started really digging deep and realizing, like, I want to help other women realize this too. I want to help other women find this like empowerment and this understanding that like your skinniest and your tiniest self is not your happiest self, and it's not your most confident self. And obviously with my degree, I became really obsessed with like the science behind stuff. So that's my goal as a coach now, is to not only just help women feel empowered, but also bring them the science. Like, I'm not just gonna pull crap out of my ass and say, here, this worked for me, it's gonna work for you. I literally, like, the education and the science behind it is what I want to bring to women, and bring to everyone in my program, bring to everyone on social media. So yeah, that was a lot. There's more, but yeah, that's kind of how it all started. So
Well, first off, thank you for sharing that. Like, it's so good, and you hit so many things. It's like for this one time, my notepad's like right out of reach, and I was like, don't go get it, because I wanted to be like, okay, what about that? What about that? I was like, don't leave the screen, pay attention, like, you know. But there is, and you made so many good points, so many things that break my heart, and I know they break your heart with women, with men, with everybody, right? Um, and one that just really stuck out is, to summarize it, if I may, your healthier, your healthiest body that looks and feels the way you want it to probably weighs more than you think it does.
yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I think a lot of women struggle with understanding that, like, the toned physique that you want so badly, it doesn't come from just doing hours of cardio and from cutting out all those carbs, right? That's not what it comes from. And I thought that too. I really thought that's what it came from. But eventually your body, it starts to shut down and it doesn't even look the way that you want it to anymore. And there's this, everyone, all the women are scared of getting bulky, right, in the gym if they lift weights, but you have to be spending years eating in a surplus and lifting. I guarantee you're not lifting heavy enough to actually get bulky. And so that's something else too that I have to chat with my clients on a daily basis. I'm like, I promise you, these workouts aren't going to make you have big manly arms, okay? Like, and even if they did, why is that bad, right? But yeah.
No, we do hear that, and it's like, well, I don't want to look like you. well, you're not. Like you're, I've been at this most of my a long, long time, and like I eat between 3,500 and 4,500 calories a day. Like you're just not gonna do it. So it's like I like the analogy of like saying somebody saying with a Kia Soul saying I don't want to be Mario Andretti and a race car driver. Like, well, you don't have the right tools.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I do love that. And there is such a fear and a phobia around certain foods, about overeating, about gaining weight, about getting bulky. And one of my personal favorites, and we don't correct people on it just because it's obnoxious, but it's like, well, I don't want bulky muscle, I just want toned muscle. Will you touch on that one for me since it popped in my head?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's
Got you
so
on that one, did I?
yeah,
Like,
well, it's just funny because I know too, right now, at least in my world, like the social media that I'm seeing on my page is like all these girls going crazy about the Pilates trend. Like they're like, oh, if I do Pilates, I'll get toned. Like that'll give me the toned muscle, not the bulky muscle. And it's just another one of those fad trends, right? And like what women have to understand is that, and I know you train a lot of women as well, so they have to understand that it takes you're not going to get bulky from lifting weights, right? You have to, I always say, like it's almost like building a house. You have to have a strong foundation. If you are going to build a house on sand, it's probably going to crumble, right? You need to build a house on a sturdy foundation. You need to have a sturdy amount of muscle. You need to spend some time, not 4 weeks, you need to spend at least, I want to say like 6 months building muscle, doing the same intentional workouts week to week, focusing on progressive overload, learning what progressive overload even looks like, and building muscle in those areas before you go into a fat loss phase. And the fat loss phase is where the toned muscle comes from. So there's no like bulky muscle or toned muscle. There's just building and then like cutting from there, right? And the cutting and the fat loss, that's where the toning actually comes in, the toned muscle. So you can't just tone from nothing. You can't just have toned muscle if you've never lifted weights in your life, right? That doesn't happen. And you're not going to get toned muscle from lifting the 2 or the 5 pound weights and doing silly little like arm circles. That's not going to get you anywhere. So yeah.
I'm picturing the silly arm circles, and I mean, I guess we could, scientifically speaking, if somebody took the 5 pound weights and we equated the total work done, you could do it. Let me clarify this for people, but it would probably take you about 7 hours a day in the gym to equate the total work done.
Exactly.
So it's probably not going to happen. It might serve you time wise better to go ahead and lift a little bit of some heavier weights. Um, and so there is that long-standing myth, especially me being in my 40s, where high reps, low weight tones and heavy weights bulk. And that one just is not dying for some odd reason. And luckily, it sounds like I'm seeing a trend, a shift in the younger generation where I'm like, oh, they're starting to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And with mine, I'm like, please, but we have to undo not only like what their parents taught them, what they've had reinforced their entire life, but you get to go in and undo what my generation taught your generation. And it's like, okay, now let's just play together and go ahead and smack this in the face together. That's why I was so excited for this. And ladies and men, Pilates is
Yeah.
phenomenal. I'm a huge fan of Pilates for core strength, mobility, like overall wellness, but you're not going to build muscle.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, no. And I tell my clients this every day. And for me personally, like I am the type of person who on the weekends, once in a while, I want to try something new. Everyone, like once in a while you get burnt out from just lifting weights, 4 to 5 times a week. That's normal. Stick to that though, and then find other ways to enjoy movement, right? Like I've taken Pilates classes. I've gone and taken like even like cycle bar classes once in a while, or just something fun. It's fun to try new things. It's fun to try hot yoga, right? But at the end of the day, don't make that your only form of exercise. Trying different random classes or trying different workouts, like YouTubing toned armed workouts to do, every other day, or trying different things. It's not going to get you anywhere, right? At the end of the day, it's those consistent workouts, the same ones every single day, week to week, building muscle in those same areas and trying to lift heavier every couple of weeks or so, that's actually going to get you that physique that you want. And yeah,
You,
the higher,
yeah,
lighter weight stuff, because it's still very, very real for me as well. So
there is that fear and there's the phobia. You touched on two things that I would love to go over, right? And one is keeping things the same. That is an uphill battle, because I do get so many people from Orange Theory, Burn Boot Camp, things of that nature, because it worked at first and now it's not working anymore. Um, and then but I'm bored, but I'm already lifting weights. Yes and no. For health, yes, it's great. For overall fitness, yes. For what you're telling me you want, no. Will you go ahead and go into why so they can stop hearing me harp on it all of the time?
yeah, I think, the issue that I have with those classes like Orange Theory, Boot Camp, yeah, like you said, they do for a period of time until they don't anymore. And the reason for that being is, yeah, you are doing, especially with Orange Theory. I'm not as familiar with Burn Boot Camp, but I know with Orange Theory, it's a series of different, like it's kind of like a HIIT style class. So you're doing weights and then you're doing cardio, you're going back and forth, you're lifting and then you're running and then you're doing some kind of like hypertrophy, like squat jumps or whatever. And there's a time and a place for different styles of training. So, I might give my clients some slightly higher rep, lighter weight hypertrophy training, say at the very end of their deficit. They're eating less food, they have less muscular strength, right? Our strength does start to go down at the very end of that deficit, possibly. But if it's not working, if it stopped working for you, that tells me that your body has adapted to this higher intensity training, right? Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm just like, yes, that your body adapts and it figures
Yeah.
it out.
Yeah.
And I don't care if your watch says you burned 1,000 calories. Number one, that's a horrible measure of caloric burn. So let's just not measure the calories burned during during workouts. It's really just not going to be very accurate. And number two, if it says 1,000 on month one and it says 1,000 on month six, I can pretty much guarantee you in month six, your body has adapted because it's like, hey, it wants to be
Mhm.
efficient and it wants to figure it out.
Yeah.
Keep going, please. I love that
No,
point
yeah,
right
it is.
there.
It's true. Your body starts to adapt, and that's the goal when you're lifting weights, and that's the whole point of progressive overload and following a structured program that includes different cycles and phases. Is that your body never really adapts. You're still trying to push it. You're still trying to build, right? You're still trying to challenge it with heavier weights or different rest times or things like that. So, um, yeah, I find it really interesting that too those classes, they just place so much stress on your body, right? It's like you never get a significant amount of rest time to actually recover, for your muscles to recover. And that's part of the adaptation as well, is eventually your body has just become so overwhelmed with this style of training that it almost stops responding to it, right? Because it's placing so much added stress on the body that it's like, I'm not in a place anymore to be able to make anything out of it, take anything from this. Yeah, so
Ironically, just made a post about that today about putting our body into, if we want to get a little technical, not too much for you folks, like a sympathetic state versus a parasympathetic state, i.e., where your body is so stressed, you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm just getting bloated and my stomach's not working right, or I can't sleep, or, just all of these things, and I'm not able to handle the stressors throughout my day. That's a sympathetic state, which I like to say, if you're in a sympathetic state, you're not being sympathetic to your body.
yeah,
Um, like seriously, the irony in that one, right? And basically, that is where your body is, to put it very simply, just in this, yo, this dude or this chick is trying to kill me right now. Like, what are they doing? Like, your central nervous system is like, ah!
yeah,
And it's like, no wonder you can't sleep, because it's like, is there a tiger coming, or like, what is going on? Like, is the caveman going to drag me out of the cave? Like, what is happening? And it's a we're not supposed to stay there. Being there for a little bit is not a bad thing. We're just not supposed to stay there. Cortisol levels stay spiked. Cortisol is not a bad thing. We're just not supposed to stay elevated.
Right.
Um, and that's where we tend to see like the hair thinning,
Mm-hmm.
the skin looking icky and dry and wrinkly, even in people that are in their 20s and 30s. It's also nutrient deficiency, but that's because the gut's not working. You're not absorbing the nutrients you should be. This whole litany of things. And anybody listening, if you hear these things and this resonates, rest.
Mm-hmm.
Take a nap. Boo, boo. Take a nap.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so funny because I just made a post on that today as well. Just the whole idea of like less is more, right? I think so many people think that the more I do, like the more I add in, the better results I'll see. And I was just telling my client this the other day because she came to me, she's getting over 10,000 steps a day. She's lifting weights 5 times a week. She's doing Pilates 3 times a week on top of that. Sometimes she'll go to a HIIT class if Pilates wasn't hard enough, right? And she's like, she even messaged me because I brought her down. We brought down the Pilates and I said, let's just do that once or twice a week. And then with weight training, I said, let's just do a four days a week right now. And then I just want you focusing on like 9 to 10K steps, no cardio, right? Because she was doing incline walking a lot after her lifts. Lots of cardio, lots of high stress exercise. And with her most recent check-in, she was like, do I need to be doing more? Like, should we be adding in another workout? I feel like I'm not doing enough. And I was like, you hear what you just said? Like, you feel like you're not doing enough. But here's the thing. Your body is in a state of stress right now. And that's why you haven't been able to lose weight for the last 5 years. She's a retired athlete. She's been eating super clean. She's been doing everything right. She's been eating low calorie. And she's like, I still have not lost weight and I don't know why. And I'm like, we need to really just like chill the fuck out. Like, we need to down.
Like, I'm literally hearing Kevin Hart in my head going, listen to me, come here, listen to me. No.
No, literally. Yeah. Like your body needs, so we've taken all, right? We've brought the cardio down. We're increasing her food. We're giving her body more food, focusing on sleep, at least 8 hours a night, right? And yeah, like you said, there are a lot of other factors, mineral absorption, gut health. She was eating way too much fiber because of her fear of like, the simple carbs. So she was eating a lot of complex carbs, but eating like 50 to 60 grams of fiber a day, which if you're eating 1,500 calories, that's just way too much fiber. So a lot of other factors going into gut, mineral absorption, muscle recovery, all those things. And, slowly, yeah, your body starts to respond. She's like, wow, I feel so much better. I already feel a little bit more toned, a little more tightened. And I'm like, because you're giving your body the rest that it needs. Less is more. So yeah.
I like to phrase it, if you like this one, right? So we've both been in class, like, and had those professors, right? Like, I had this one professor that graduated like summa magna uber cum laude from MIT. The guy was just ridiculously smart, right? And I had him for astronomy. And he had 3 whiteboards. I'm showing my age, and he's writing, and he goes, all right. And he's showing us how to calculate something in space, which I love space, but this guy hurt my noggin. And he fills out all 3 boards and looks at the class and goes, okay, any questions? And I just raised my hand and I said, yes. Could you repeat the last part and everything before it?
Yeah.
What does that have to do with what we're talking about? That's what your body feels like, is how my brain felt.
Mm-hmm.
Your body's like, okay, what was all of that? I can't understand any of that. That was way too much. I'm just going to shut down. Screw you guys. I'm going home.
Yeah.
Um,
why are you doing this to me?
yeah. No. And you hit on something else. I actually had just a quick call with somebody that was sent to me from the gym. It wasn't a sales call. I don't believe in that whole like sign up now and you save 10% crap. And just gave a quick eval. And I was like, hey, if you think I can help. But his wife was 46 years old. And he's like, I was like, give me the history. Listen, there's a lot of nuance here. And each person listening, there's nuance. She said 4 to 5. You may be 2 to 3. You may be 2 at max right now. Like if you've been going at like a burn boot camp or an Orange Theory and eating 1,200 calories a day and you're 5'6", you probably should just like go like do some grounding techniques in the grass. So
Yeah.
seriously, but we've been doing P90X 6 days a week for the past 6 months. And then we just switched to lifting and she's doing 6 days of lifting and doing cardio 5 days a week. And I was like, I don't know your wife. And so this is a generalized answer, but in my opinion, for most women, especially at 46, that's probably too much.
Yeah.
It's probably too much. I was like, is her hair thinning? Is she having issues sleeping? Are her nails getting brittle? Is she irritable? He's like, how did you know that? I was like, just a wild ass
Mm-hmm.
guess.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, men, like I see this a lot too with men, and I know you work with women, but men, like, they're like, well, I'm only 5'7", but I'm lifting 6 days a week and I'm eating 1,800 calories. No.
Yeah.
If you're a dude, you probably should not be under 2,000.
Oh yeah. I know. I know. And that's such a stigma too. Like we think only women are the ones to undereat, but I think a lot of men too unintentionally just undereat or they just forget to eat throughout the day, right? Like yeah. It's probably not on purpose most of the time, but they're just like, "Oh, I didn't have breakfast, had a snack." You know, it just yeah. Yeah. It
The
does. It
bro way of doing it is this. Here's the bro way. I had 2 scoops of protein shake. I had a Quest bar. I worked out for 2 hours, lifted really heavy, had another protein shake to maximize my anabolic window.
yep.
Um, and then I ate a cheeseburger.
Not the anabolic window.
Not the
Oh my gosh.
anabolic window, bro. No, the supplement companies are brilliant. Um, so that's what the guy side looks like. And it's just like the more protein, the better. Screw everything else.
Yep.
So I
Yep.
really wish we could. I wish we could combine like the men and the women like training philosophies together. Like the dudes who are like, okay, go lift heavy and progressive overload, eat a fair amount of protein, load up on carbs, get your fats, like let's go do this thing. But they're also like, cardio kills my gains. Guys, that's not true. It actually improves them
Mm.
and it'll make your PP work better. And that's the only way I can get them to do it. Like I just tell them that, they're like,
Yeah.
okay. And then ladies with like high intensity, all the stuff, so much cardio, like a ton of vegetables, not enough protein. I'm like, what if we combined the two
Yeah.
and you took half of his stuff and he took half of your stuff and then we all just skip down the road together?
Yes. Please. Please. I know. Because I know it's so common too for the guys to just like avoid vegetables at all costs. They're like, they don't even think about it. And I'm like, not saying that's all you need to eat, but you do need some color in your diet. Oh man. Yeah.
You hit on something else too that I would love for you to address and for us to banter on, because we do hear the toned abs and I want the toned arms. We hear that from women all the time. So then I see 8 million arm exercises.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you talking about just how like in a single workout it's like 15 different exercises?
Or this hyper focus on isolation movements to try to tone the area that we want to tone versus focusing on maybe like a row and a pull down compared to like 800 bicep exercises, an assisted dip, bench press or chest press, things of that nature, instead of like 80 tricep exercises. Why are we really not going to see that tone what we think? And why is that not really a great way to boost our metabolism and get us that physique we
Yeah.
want anyway?
Yeah, a lot of like supersets, a lot of random. Yeah, I've seen those too. Like try this toned arm workout, and then it's all like tricep kickbacks and like lateral raises. It's all accessory movements. Um, and the thing is, I mean, first and foremost, and I know everyone hears this, but I think you need to hear it again. You can't spot reduce fat. You can't. So if you're doing a million like, overhead tricep extensions or dips or whatever it is, that's not going to help you spot reduce fat in that certain area. Again, that just comes down to your nutrition, eating in a calorie deficit, and let's hope that you've been eating at maintenance before doing so. Second thing too is, yeah, the reason you asked like why it doesn't really improve our metabolism at all. The more muscle that you have on your body, the faster your metabolism is going to become, right? So if we're spending 2 hours in the gym though, just doing those accessory movements, doing a lot of random like high rep supersets of like focusing on those smaller muscle groups, right? And we're not focusing on the compound movements that target you want to work smarter, not harder. So focusing on those compound movements like shoulder press or like you said, like rows that are going to target multiple muscle groups in one movement is going to help you get those results quicker and help you build muscle in more areas at once in a shorter amount of time. Whereas if you're doing, all those accessory movements just to target your anterior delts or your medial rear delts, whatever it is, if you're spending time doing that, you're wasting a lot of time, right? So focus on movements that are actually going to target multiple muscles, multiple muscle groups in one single movement, as opposed to doing a lot of accessory work to tone a certain area. Because at the end of the day, overall toning in your body is going to come down to, like I said, that nutrition and that calorie deficit. You could do the same workouts even in a calorie deficit, and you would see that definition, that toning in all areas as the same workouts that you did when you were building, right? It comes down to that nutrition aspect, and how you're being smart there.
So good. God, this is so good. Like, this is firing me, it's teasing me up. This is so good. I love it. And it's the superset that I think people are missing. And actually, this is the post I'm making recording today. This is the superset to get you toned: the push up and the push away. Like, that superset is a superpower.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So if I see that on your page, I'm stealing credit. But go right ahead, because we can't say it enough. But it really is. Now let's have fun with this one. So if I'm supposed, why do we then bring people up to at least maintenance, right? Why do we want them in maintenance? Because me trying to tell one of my female clients, like, hey, we're gonna eat more. I'm gonna leave you in maintenance for a while because you've been in a diet phase for, yes. And then at some point, we actually might take you into a surplus for a little bit. That's like ice skating uphill. And then I'm going to bring you back down. Why are we doing that? Why do we do that?
My short answer is because don't you want to be able to lose fat eating as much food as possible?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's my
I do.
answer.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the more time you spend at maintenance and possibly increasing, the more food you can eat while seeing success in fat loss. So I would much rather cut at like 1,800, 1,900 calories, if my maintenance is like 2,200, right? As opposed to jumping down all the way to like 12, I don't know, 1,500, whatever, and my metabolism immediately starting to slow and that fat loss not being like as sustainable long term, right? So the higher your maintenance calories are, the higher you start, the higher you can keep it and continue to see fat loss long term. And you can even make the fat loss phase a little bit longer too. If you are continuing to lose weight at a substantial amount of calories, that's amazing. Like, that's what you want. You don't want to be sitting in this place of I'm barely eating anything and I'm still not losing weight. That just sucks. No one wants that. So, yeah.
No, and that's where the screw it all disease comes in, right? Like, that's where the screw it all comes in. And that is so true. Like, when I can get, when one of my females posted recently that she got the body she pretty much always wanted, single mother of three, right? Like, working, doing all these things, and her fat loss phase, like the lowest we took her was 2,000.
Yeah.
And her cruise is like 2,550. Like, and then for her surplus, it was, I think the highest, we took her up to like 2,800 calories.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, this is so much food. I'm like, right? I was like, go eat a cheeseburger. It's okay.
Yeah. It's the best. It's the best when women realize, oh, wow, I can eat a lot and look good and feel good. And a lot of women too, like after I've done sort of that reverse diet with them, after they've been dieting so long, they get to the end of that reverse, they're sitting at maintenance and they're like, I don't even want that anymore. I don't want it. Like, they're so happy with what their body looks like. They're sleeping better, they have more energy, they feel more confident, they feel stronger in the gym, which obviously is going to boost your confidence, your mindset overall. and they're feeling more toned, they have more shape. They're like, I don't even want to lose fat anymore. Like, I like the muscle I've built, and I'm happy with how much food I'm eating right now.
Is there really anything better than getting like somebody sending you a picture of like when a client like will post like, I love this Reuben. I thought I couldn't have this Reuben. I'm eating this Reuben. My coach told me to eat the
Yeah.
Reuben. I'm happy. And then, or getting like waking up to like the picture of somebody who's been just cardio, like 1,500 calories. And they're like, yeah, I'm eating 2,500 calories. And they're like flexing on you in the gym and you're with this giant grin on their face. And you're like, yes, queen, do this, flex on them, girl. Like,
Literally the best. There's nothing better, honestly. It's so empowering to be able to see that, like, and to watch other women like find that feeling that I know I was looking for so long, and I finally found it. Oh my gosh, it's the best. Yeah.
it's so cool. And some people watching this may be like, well, how do you get it? You're a man. Like, listen, I was raised, especially, as a Southern
Mm.
gentleman, like to support females. Like I open the door and I pull out the chair and do these things because like my whole life I was taught like you make the female feel safe, you make her secure, you give her this safe place. And most men, let me go ahead and admit this is a whole different discussion, but they suck at it. Do better, guys. But like
Yeah.
like, do freaking better. But like a female coming to me and sharing all this deep stuff and like me saying, hey, by the way, just so you know, like your chocolate craving is probably going to increase a little bit because it's that time, like just in case you weren't, and you know what? It's great. Go ahead and have it.
Yeah.
And like that trust, I take that very, very personally, very
Yeah.
seriously.
100%. Yeah.
So, and that's why it's powerful for us to have
Mm-hmm.
both. Like the man and the female coach, where it's like, well, you don't believe me, listen to her. And it's like, hey, like he likes this look. Listen to him. He's a coach. He works with women. Like
Yeah.
that, it really is. It's like it's just this powerful, powerful dynamic. It's like another superset, right? Kind of like the push away and the push
Yeah.
up. But
Definitely. Yeah,
um,
and I can attest to that. I work with a male coach myself, and I literally like it's been a completely different experience. I've been with him for about 6 months, I think. And I just signed on for another year with him because it's just a totally different way of learning, and it's so beneficial. Um, to have I like too that like having a male coach, they bring like more of the realistic side of things in once in a while when we are emotional or when we are like in our heads. They're just like, here are the facts. Don't freak, stop spiraling. Like, let's get back to the basics. Here's what you need to know.
that is like 80% of my
Yeah.
job is, the foundation of my coaching is how would this look if it was simple? Because let's be real, women are better at like 85, maybe 92%. That's an arbitrary number of things than men. Like typically speaking, like physiologically speaking, I may get crucified for this later. Overall, by percentage, we're going to be stronger. The only other thing that we're typically better at is not thinking about anything or not overthinking things. Like that's it. Like I have never met a woman where I can be like, "Hey, think about nothing." You can't think about nothing. Sure, I can. Watch. But just looking at being able to talk to my female clients and being like, "Hey, how would this look if it was simple?
Yeah.
Like, what about this? Have you contemplated this? Do you think maybe we're overthinking this just a little bit? How would this look if it was simple?" Having them say it and go, they're like, "Wait a minute, it can't be that easy, can it? I don't know. Do you want to find out?" Sure. And
Actually,
then off we go.
yes, totally. Totally.
And what's funny is I have a female coach.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's awesome. How has that been?
I love her. She's a registered dietitian, a former competitive athlete. We do a lot of work together. As you know, it takes a village. Your voice may resonate, my voice may resonate, her voice may resonate. But she's excellent. And the reason I have that is because let's be real, even though I've studied this formally, I've been at this for 16 years, like when it's our stuff, we do overthink it, even myself. Or when we see a shift in the wrong direction, we tend to overreact. It's the same reason I have an investment broker for my money.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So because she brings another side of it that I don't have as a man.
Mhm.
And so those different perspectives, I think, work perfectly in tandem. Um, when it comes to one last thing, actually, let's put it there. There's been so much good stuff, and I really would love to have you on again because this has just been beautiful, and I think it's really going to reach a lot of people. Um, if you could tell my audience, let's go with my audience that tends to be that 40, 45, 50, 55, used to eating 1,400 calories, have to stay in the deficit, and used to hit training and cardio. If you could tell them something and encourage them that it's okay to eat more, what would you tell them? What piece of advice would you give them besides it's okay?
Trust the process because it does take a long time. I know how scary and frustrating it is to do something that the culture and everyone your whole life has told you is wrong, or it seems completely opposite of what you feel like is right. We're not told to eat more, to exercise less, to rest more. Like, we are told to keep going, keep adding in, keep pushing. Um, and it does take time for your body to heal, and it does take time for your body to respond in a positive way to these changes. But I mean, what's going to change if you keep doing what you've been doing for the last 10 plus years, right? Like, what's scarier? Staying like this for the rest of your life, feeling miserable, weight's not going anywhere, you're not able to eat anything, or putting some trust in somebody else, trying something new, seeing how your body responds. What's scarier? Staying
I
the
love
same.
that so much. Well, that's it. Like Ayn Rand said, the pain of change must, the pain of remaining the same must become greater than the pain of change in order for someone to
Mm,
change. And it's what's it going to take? What's it going to take?
yeah.
And for anybody else, as you guys know, you're worth it. Like, you're worth trying something new. You're worth pushing out, and you're worth eating a cheeseburger. Like, it's okay,
Yeah.
and they're delicious. They're very, very tasty. I got to ask you, what's your go-to, like, less nutritious food? Like, what's your go-to less nutritious food that you just love?
I have a big
Is it cinnamon
sweet.
toast crunch?
Yeah, I have a big sweet tooth, so it's not usually like pizza or a burger. It's usually like I want a fat ice cream sundae, or like with like a brownie and hot fudge, or like a cookie cake with ice cream, something like
Mhm.
that, usually.
I am
Yeah.
here for that life. Yes, yes, yes. And if I see you at another fitness conference this year, we'll jam offline about that. That I'm getting, you know what, we're splitting a cookie cake because that
Yeah,
sounds phenomenal.
100%.
I'm here for that. Claire, thank you so much. Where can everybody find you? Instagram, YouTube, website, where can they find you?
Yeah, my Instagram is just Claire K Fit, CLARE. And then my coaching as well is called Your True Worth. So Your True Worth Coaching, both on Instagram. I'm on TikTok a lot as well. Actually, I do a lot of lives and longer form videos on there. So you can find me on either of those. Yeah.
Claire, thank you so much. I hope you have an amazing, wonderful, blessed day. Thank you for giving us your time, and thank you for your friendship. And I will talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you. So fun.
Great. It was. Have a good day.